Welcome back to the Crew Mahoney podcast. It's so good to be here. I love it. It's so good. And I know you see my new haircut. Come on. Come on. I do this thing where I'll just go months and not get a haircut or anything. And then progressively over time, I just go, man, I look like shit. And then I just start to get frustrated. And then I think about getting a haircut. And I go, nah, it's not going to work. I can't be relying on a haircut to look better. What are we doing? And then I get a haircut and it looks pretty sweet. So, just a little tidbit of information there, letting you in on all the really valuable insights here. So look, this podcast is about my 7-year run streak. So what is it? 15th? So on the 13th, June 13th, 2025, that was my 7-year anniversary of running at least a mile every single day. So I'm going to break down all of it. Hopefully this isn't too dang long, but I'm going to answer all the questions that I typically get, reflect on why I started, what it feels like to have come so far, which might be a little bit underwhelming, to be honest with you, but I'm going to cover all the bases. I've got plenty of notes written down here, so I'm going to try to not miss anything, but let's get into it. So why did I start the mile a day or minimum of a mile a day? I was in high school. I was 17, so it was June 13th, 2018 was day one. Now, this is kind of a interesting day one because I had actually been doing the running every day for about 2 years before. I think I missed a day somewhere in there. And then a week before June 13th, I actually got my wisdom teeth out and they told me that I couldn't exercise or was going to get infected or something. And so I listened to them, which was kind of ridiculous, but June 13th was day one. Really, at this point, I kind of had this feeling that I wasn't doing enough, to put it simply. I would hear about people really, really putting their heart into their exercise or their life and building a ton of purpose. And I was going to the gym every day, but I didn't necessarily feel like I was giving my all, which felt really problematic because I'm a all-in kind of person. And so I wanted to dedicate myself to something. I wanted to wake up every day and know that I made that day valuable. Because I feel like when you're kind of wishy-washy with whatever you're trying to accomplish or wishy-washy with building purpose in your life, it doesn't work too well. Right? And you leave each day feeling like you didn't do enough, which is a pretty bad feeling, leaving something on the table. So I wanted to overcome that. I wanted to have a baseline that every single day had, that I could go, on my worst day, I'm going to be proud of this. Another thing, the reason I was so adamant about never missing a day is because, God, when you grow up, you hear people say all the time, oh, I do this every day. I do this every day. And then you realize how most people are freaking lying when they say they do something every day because, oh, well, if I'm too tired, maybe I'll skip out. Or, oh, maybe if it's raining, then I won't go on my run. And then you start to see all of these holes in people's statements of themselves. And I always hated that. That frustrated me so much because to see someone as heroic, typically there's kind of an element of they always show up, right? There's never a miss, and it's not to seek perfection, right? But it's to kind of seek the truth of capability. So really this was the foundation of why I started. And then, I'd hit 30 days or 100 days or 200 days, and I saw so much growth within myself that I couldn't walk back on that commitment. So for me, it became so important to just continue making that, or keeping that promise rather, every single day, no matter what. And then things would come my way. Things would make it more and more difficult. And then I would overcome that. And I would see how even more valuable the promise is now that I've kept it when the difficulty has increased. So it's almost tough to look back on the true beginning of doing the running every single day and perfectly define, oh, here was the reason I started. Because I might be kind of injecting some of my current purpose into that reasoning back then. I think it was a lot more simple. And yeah, there's been so many days, so many versions of reflecting on the purpose. I mean, there have literally been 2,559 days now of actually doing the run and spending that time with myself. So to be quite honest, sometimes it's just a jumble of ideas in my mind, and it's really, really hard to just nail down the perfect, oh, this is exactly why I started. But hopefully that kind of covers the bases there as much as I possibly can. And looking back on the thousands at this point of days that I've done the thing, it's almost like I remember every single one and I don't remember any of them at the same time, because so many versions of kind of the same experience of the running over years of life changing and evolving and having so many ups and downs. Oh my gosh, it's so difficult, but each day you can't escape the presentness. So when I say I remember every single one, it comes from that very distinct feeling of being present in that moment and then not being able to remember any of them. It's just there's thousands of these little memories, well, probably millions of these little memories floating around my mind, and it's kind of hard to just pinpoint each one of those memories. So it kind of just jumbles up into this one big, oh yeah, the last 7 years, which is kind of crazy to think about. So the standard of at least 1 mile a day, people that are real runners, which I really don't consider myself, they look at the 1 mile as nothing, right? That's typically the warm-up, or that's half the warm-up for a real training run. So a mile has always been easy, right? I mean, in 5th grade, I think I cracked a 5:59, so broke the 6 minutes. So after a couple years leading up to that point, I could always run a mile. That wasn't a huge mountain to climb. So a mile is easy, right? And if it's not easy for you, then that's perfectly fine as well. It absolutely can become easy. But for me, mile is not too hard. However, it's very hard when life is difficult. So running a mile in isolation, nothing. But then when you're dead frustrated, or you're dead tired, or you're in a relationship and then that ends and your whole world is just thrown into this spiral of thinking and worrying or wishing you could have done something different, whatever it might be, now a mile is incredibly difficult. Right? So this is why I set that floor of, well, at least a mile a day. Some days it's going to be really easy. And then when life becomes difficult, it might be the hardest thing I've done in a while. So that's kind of my reasoning for having a very reasonable floor. It's because I want to be able to keep that promise at any point. Right? And I'll definitely get into some times where that might not have felt super easy, or it was bordering not happening, but got it done anyway. So a lot to really think about there, and again reflect on, because I'm not doing it for the running. Right? The run is just kind of an anchor of self-respect and a lot of the characteristics that I want to uphold in myself. So I'm not immune to something keeping me from doing that run, by the way. That's the big point here. I think people might perceive my confidence that I've gained from doing this as nothing can stop me. Well, of course something can stop me. Of course there could be a day that proves too much to handle, whether physically, mentally, I don't know, that keeps me from doing the run. I just haven't met that day yet. And I hope I don't meet that day, because I really value continuing to do the run and have that anchor, but I'm not immune. So things can happen, life can happen. It just hasn't happened hard enough to keep me from running, simply. The running though, not the point. I just have a note here on my computer. It says, of course it's not about the running. Mile a day is not good training. So the run streak is not the best training for being an incredible runner. It's just it's a training program for liking yourself and respecting yourself and being able to look back on years and years of a promise and say, wow, I feel pretty heroic for myself. Right? And that's really the reason behind it. But It's never about the running. And mind you, I like running. I like the idea of running. I want to get better at it. But the way that I approach improving my running is not through utilizing kind of that minimum of 1 mile in the morning. If I'm doing an actual training run, then I'll probably do that later in the day, kind of a secondary run. So not about the running whatsoever. So I think a huge part of my journey over the last 7 years is the element of misunderstanding. Because when there's something semi-trivial that you are so dedicated to, right? So the running to nearly everybody is going to seem unimportant because it's just a run. It's just one day. And these are the things that I have heard countless freaking times. I mean, so many times throughout the last 7 years, people kind of downplaying, if not the whole thing, just a day of it, right? If I were to be sick, or I'm traveling somewhere, or I'm staying at someone's house, or life becomes incredibly difficult, or I'm injured, whatever the case might be, all I hear is, you don't have to run every day. You can skip a day. It's not going to be the end of the world. And I think the biggest obstacle I faced when I was growing up was the fact that I knew why it was so important to me, and I could communicate that really well to myself. But then when it came to communicating that to other people, kind of translating my ideas, putting that into words, and having other people understand, I felt like I was at a loss for words all the time, right? Because my mom, for example, she would say, well, if you're not feeling well, you shouldn't run. That's silly, right? And I would go, but and of course I would just go do it anyways. But there was kind of that disconnect there. And I think being able to communicate what you think is the foundation of confidence. And I really lost that confidence, or at least it would be kind of a kick to the confidence when I wasn't able to communicate why. I would get the questions. Why are you doing this? You don't need to be so obsessed about it. It's not healthy, or again, it's silly. And not having the answer is not the best feeling ever. So my recommendation is always know what matters to you, know your priorities, and know how to talk about them. Right? And getting better at that, you simply just do that through practicing. And just being able to talk to your friends, or maybe you just do little voice notes every day where you just talk about the things you care about, and that really sharpens the toolkit of being able to communicate. So I think that's kind of a superpower. Now, the misunderstanding comes in a lot of different forms. I would say the modern day misunderstanding is the social media version of it, because everyone's always looking to poke holes in every single thing that you do when you post on social media and have a decent sized following. I want to read this message that I got from somebody, and it's regarding one of the pretty distinct obstacles over the last 7 years, and a very recent one. So on the post where I mentioned the 7-year run streak, someone said, "Stop lying. You stopped when you broke your leg. Don't say every day straight for 7 years." So maybe about 3 months ago, I sprained my ankle and my foot doing jiu-jitsu. And I wasn't even able to walk for a couple days. And then once I could walk, I definitely was not able to run. So I was doing my minimum of a mile, quote unquote, run on crutches every day. Which, to clarify, a mile on crutches, I would say, is equivalent to about 5 miles of running. So I did the mile on crutches for 28 days total. And I mean, to have it not count as a technicality or whatever, I really don't care. Of course, for me, it's just the principle of it. It's the principle of showing up. So if it's the taking a step and then both feet are elevated and then the next foot goes down and the technical definition of running, sure. I mean, honestly, it's just my way of saying something simply because everyone's attention span is about that freaking big on Instagram. So that's just how I categorize it. I could say I've run every single day for the last 7 years except a 28-day span where I crutched it because my foot was freaking broken. And yeah, kind of holds the exact same weight. So, for people trying to poke holes and catch me on a technicality, all right, that's fine, I guess. So yeah, the principle for me is the heart of it. Showing up to the thing, doing something difficult. Again, it's not about the running whatsoever. And honestly, things like this are just ridiculous because it proves so distinctly that some people don't have any recognition of nuance. They have no ability to hear something and just consider that there might be, I don't know, more detail to the story. There might be more ideas that they're missing out on considering they're watching a 45-second video. Right? People's lives are a lot more complex than that. And when someone is just looking to misunderstand, that's when I barely waste my time. I did waste a little bit of time responding to this comment, though. What did I say? I said, must have missed where I did the distance on crutches every day. Run miles instead of your mouth, and life will get better. Heart emoji. Run miles instead of your mouth. That's my quote of the day. So what I really want to talk about is actually some practical details, answer a lot of the questions that I've gotten about the run streak over the years, and give you some actual takeaways, whether you want to start your own run streak, whether you want to do not running but something else every day, right? Build this promise into your life. And through that, you'll make your life better. I'll definitely get into, again, why that is, but want to share just a lot of the practical information here. So first off, injuries. I get a ton of questions about injuries. You wouldn't believe the amount of messages I get that mention shin splints. And I mean, you can do tibialis raises where you lift your toes and strengthen the muscle on the front of your shin, or just run less. So if your body has not adapted to running super consistently and your shins hurt really bad, then run ridiculously slow or rest for a week. I mean, I don't do the rest for a week thing ever, but I've adapted over the years. My body's used to it. If I'm just destroyed, then I'll take it mad slow. I mean, I don't mind running a 10, 12-minute mile if I need to. If my body is just not it, I'm not in the business of destroying my body in the face of just covering distance. I actually really care about staying healthy, so I'll just slow down. I've had a lot of injuries over the years, though. More so overuse kind of stuff from lifting, or maybe I'll tweak something. And I've had some rough days out on the old mile run, big time. I mean, I've thrown up. I've been limping like crazy and just getting the run done. I sliced my foot open one time. I think it was when I first visited Austin. I did a rope swing into this lake and hit a backflip, landed 10 out of 10, just perfect. Went to the bottom, and there was maybe some glass or something on the rock that I eventually reached down to and just sliced the middle of my foot. So the next day, I can't even remember which foot it was, but I was just fully on my toe running and then going back and forth. So that was kind of a mess. But I mean, there's countless things like that I've had to deal with, but I just deal with them. Because again, keeping the promise becomes more valuable when it becomes harder to keep the promise. So I've always just worked around it as best as I possibly can, and my best has worked up to this point. So that's kind of what I keep doing. Sickness, a huge part of it. I've been sick plenty of times. Like I mentioned, I've thrown up on the run. That might be some of the worst memories of the running, is just being very, very sick and trying to get through that mile, and your whole body is just overwhelmed as can be. That is not fun. That is a really, really bad time, and I've had plenty of those where I'm just out there damn near crying, just trying to cover that distance. And yeah, again, I've got it done. I just have to put my mind in kind of a different space in those moments, and it's not this overly tough, stay hard kind of thing. It's just more of a tunnel vision looking at what actually matters to me. And I know that feeling that way is not going to last that long. I haven't been really, really sick in quite a while, but I know it's not going to last. And in that 2-year span before day one that I mentioned earlier, again, I skipped a day, I think, because I was just so sick. And then the days after that, I just went, that was so ridiculous. You could have just done it. It would have taken 10 minutes. It would have felt like crap, but you'd have gotten it done and kind of upheld that promise. And yeah, since then, I've not let the sickness get in the way. So it's just another thing to kind of fight through. And I don't know. I see a lot of people try and rationalize their life in a way that they're trying to make it really clean and perfect and feel nice. But not everything is going to feel nice. I mean, I run when I'm sick, or I ice bath when life is horrible, and I keep this promise because this thing is just, overwhelming the absolute crap out of me, because there's an element of humanity that I try and embrace with every single thing that I do. Right? So the ice bath, again, is a really good example, because I do that simply to uphold that idea of humanity, where life is just difficult. There's not a way out of life being difficult, so I use that as a way to kind of run towards it. Right? I'm running towards that difficulty every day so I can pay the respect to what life actually is, instead of always trying to find some way out, find some hack to avoid difficulty. Oh, I don't want to, respect my body and exercise every day and eat good food. Oh, I'm going to look for the magic pill that changes that. Oh, I don't want to deal with my deepest, darkest, not secrets, but freaking insecurities and all that good stuff. Oh, I'll just keep pushing it away and do things that distract me from that. That is never, ever the way. That never, ever works, but that seems to be everybody's pursuit. So I try and just dive headfirst into all of those things. I hate the cold, right? So I wake up every day and get cold right away. So this is kind of that value. Not every day is going to be pretty, right? And all the super sciencey people say, oh, well, running when you have a respiratory infection is not going to be, and just all these little technicalities again, or, oh, ice baths are bad because it decreases your muscle growth by a certain percent. All this stuff, it's just studies to support, I don't know, bitch ass people. Honestly, I can't stand when I hear stuff like that, because you can see that it's somebody going, oh, I just don't want to do this difficult thing that has obvious benefits, so I'm going to find all of the science in the world to support why you shouldn't do it. You know what I mean? And this is what people do, right? They do the mental gymnastics of rationalizing being a bitch instead of doing the mental gymnastics to just do the hard thing. Right? It's not that difficult to think about doing the hard things, because it makes sense. Oh yeah, I'll just face my fears. And then doing the thing is very difficult. Where if you have just an easy life where none of the things you do are difficult, then you're constantly trying to process and rationalize not overcoming anything. And I don't think that works really well, but I digress for a living. Weather's a fun one. Rain, snow, all of those good things. I've run in all of it. I feel like that's not super impressive or anything crazy, but I seem to think it's kind of fun. Honestly, when it's pouring rain, I'm talking crazy rain, and you just go out and run in it. It's maybe terrible for the first 2 minutes, and then you just kind of fully embrace it, and you go, oh, this is kind of fun. And I've always enjoyed that. Snow, I think, is great. I've traveled to Colorado a couple times, and it's been very snowy because I'm there for a snowboarding thing usually. And so wake up in the morning, go run in the snow, and try not to slip and fall. And that's gone pretty well. It makes it really light outside when it's snow on the ground. So it's kind of just a little winter wonderland vibe. I don't know. I like it. It's a good time. So weather has not really proven to be that much of an obstacle, except as of late. I don't know if it's a almost summertime thing here in Austin, Texas, but there's been a lot of thunderstorms actually. So when I wake up and I see the lightning flashing a million times out the window, I go, yeah, I don't know how safe the ice bath is, so I'll try and wait and let that cool off for a bit and then jump in, because getting electrocuted, I don't think that's a strong reason to uphold super perfect timing in the morning. So maybe I'll wait 10-15 minutes in those cases to jump in a bath of water outside. But other than that, the weather seems to be pretty chill most of the time. And I mean, I wake up early enough to where I feel like everything happens after I get the run done. So I mean, hundreds of times I've hit the run, gotten back, and right then it starts pouring rain, and I go, gotcha again. Mother Nature lost. So the pace and performance aspect of the daily run, I don't care at all. I mean, if I want to go slow, I go slow. If I want to go fast, I go fast. I don't have standards. I don't have marks that I'm trying to hit. I don't have a perfect specific pace. For me, it's just getting it done. Like I said earlier, when I want to actually focus on my running, then I'll focus on the running and I'll make that better and be a lot more specific about how I'm training there. But again, this is just the promise. It is not a huge part of my training. I do the run fasted every day. So I've done that for a lot of years. I think that's been a consistent kind of cool part of the day, actually, because I know that my baseline is I don't need to have eaten anything. I don't need some energy drink bullshit, which I feel like nobody should really need that for anything. But yeah, just knowing that the floor is I can wake up, I can go run, I can do that physical activity without eating. I actually feel better doing it that way because there's nothing kind of weighing me down. So that's another part of it too. I never eat beforehand, and yeah, I've been doing that ever since. So maybe that helps keep me shredded. Who knows? Might need some scientific testing there. Shoes are a big part. I get asked about my shoes a lot. So I've worn Ultras for a long time, and they won't sponsor me, bastards. But yeah, I've always liked the flatter shoes with the wide toe box and that whole thing. And it's not to be too much of a purist, but when I see everybody, I mean, recreational all the way up to professional runners wearing some damn trampoline shoes, and they're 3 inches thick, and they got the carbon plate on there, and it just seems ridiculous to me. And the question I always ask is, are we getting better at running, or are we getting better at making shoes? The answer is probably both, but I really wonder how much the shoe is helping. And anyone I've talked to that wears the carbon plated shoes, they go, yeah, it helps a lot. And I just don't know how to feel about that, because, man, if someone runs a marathon or something barefoot, I go, holy crap, that person ran that marathon. There is no question about it. And then if someone wears some shitty thin shoes, I go, damn, hell yeah. And then, you know, normal kind of thicker support shoe, I go, yeah, I mean, ran a marathon. And it's running a marathon. I'm not downplaying that at all, but I just don't have a good enough understanding of kind of the discrepancy between how much the shoes actually help. And yeah, I always kind of just fall into that purist category, whether I'm trying to or not, because I just like the aspect of embracing what the body is capable of instead of constantly adding accessories. And, you know, you run a marathon, but you have 100 gels, you know, and you're just fueling your body constantly, and you just have an IV drip of adrenaline going into your body, and you have these moon boots on your feet. And I mean, you might as well just drive a marathon. And I mean, it's running, but you just have a car under your feet. You see where I'm getting at? It's not that big of a deal, but I like to overthink things, so that's my job. The first time I ran barefoot now, because I'm a really big fan of Vivos, and I'll run in those every once in a while, because it just feels really It feels really good. I mean, you can't just fly down the street in them unless you've done it for a really long time. And that's the main key. Your body has to adapt to these things. But I've done a lot of barefoot running over the years, and I enjoy it. It makes you super, super intentional. Because first of all, you're trying not to step on some shit and cut your feet open. Also, just the impact. I mean, you can't just mindlessly run barefoot. You gotta think about it and be very, very intentional. So love that aspect. The first time I did it, it's kind of funny. The reason why, it was pouring rain one morning and I didn't want to get my shoes wet. And so I just went barefoot and it was awesome. So I kept on doing that. I'm a big fan of the barefoot running. Our bodies are capable of a lot. I think it can be super humbling, but then when you build more and you evolve and kind of, reinforce that foundation, it's not a bad thing to have in the toolkit. So I just did a mile yesterday with my friend Zach. He's doing a mile every day, but he's taking 10 seconds off the time, trying to get faster over a month or two. And I did it with him yesterday, and we did it barefoot. We got 7:14 on the track. So I think I could probably hit a 6:30 if I needed to, maybe faster. Who knows? But yeah, the barefoot is really fun. So I already talked about the nutrition aspect. Every day my runs are fasted, not eating anything. I just feel better doing it that way. I do get asked about that quite a bit. What do you eat before you go out? For me, again, it's just a mile, so it's not that hard. I mean, yesterday morning I did 4 miles, did that fasted, still felt really good. There might be kind of a mental aspect to it, honestly, just being out there in the dark. You're not really focused on being hungry because you're just ultra present in the running that you're doing. So that's another part of it too. I'm just not usually thinking about food in the morning, but I'm rarely hungry super early in the morning. And then lift weights. If you're just running every day and you're not lifting weights, you're missing out on major benefits of your body being more resilient, looking way better. Honestly, I've been lifting for a really long time. That is way more of my focus athletically than running actually is. But yeah, I've also been doing a lot of higher impact stuff in my training to become more and more resilient to the activities that I'm doing. So, I mean, I do jiu-jitsu, sprinting. I run every day. I try and swim once a week at least, and then lifting 6 times a week at the gym. And in my gym sessions, for example, I'll do the leg extension, but I will put a really light weight and I'll kick the weight up and then it comes back down and I catch it. And it's with a really stiff leg, so I'm kind of punching into it, throw it back up, and catch it again. And it's kind of prepping the tendons and slowly building the tolerance of the tendons, ligaments for higher impact. So things like sprinting, jumping, etc. That I have found very, very helpful, not only for building some resilience, but healing some injuries. I had a groin issue for months from jiu-jitsu and squatting and sprinting, all these times per week. And then I started doing that high impact technique with the adductor machine. I think it's the adductor or abductor. I don't know. We just call it the good girl, bad girl machine. If you know, you know. But yeah, I've been doing that with that machine, and I mean, within 2 weeks, the groin issue went away. So I'm not trying to be a guru here, but practicing high impact might prepare you for high impact activities. Don't take it from me, though. So those are kind of all of my practical things off the top of my head or off the top of my notes here. Mental related, because really this is why I do it, of course. Keep a promise to yourself. Keep a promise. Because keeping a promise to yourself is genuinely the foundation of any sense of self-worth. I truly think that, because whether you're talking about confidence, self-respect, having faith in yourself, it's all based on evidence. So if you can build the evidence that, hey, for the last 365 days, I told myself I was going to do something, and then I did that thing. any days after that, you're going to expect that you would continue to keep a promise. Right? And when you think of somebody else that always shows up, always keeps a promise, you look at them and you go, oh, wow, that's heroic. I can count on them. Right? I can put my faith in that person because they stay showing up. You can build that within yourself. And I think that is the most important takeaway of keeping a promise. You know what to expect, because fear and disbelief comes from uncertainty, not knowing. If you're looking to tomorrow and you say, God, I don't know if I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do. Well, that's why you don't like yourself. If you can look forward and say, I'm going to do what I said I would. Simply put, that is how you have respect for yourself. Right? Because if you plan with a friend, for example, oh, let's meet up at the gym every day at 3:00, and then they never show up, you're not going to have respect for that person because they said they were going to do something, they don't do it. You're not going to believe in them. You're not going to count on them for anything. You're not going to have that respect. So you got to see the relationship with yourself in that same sort of way. And again, whether it's running every day, whether it's reading for 10 minutes every day, practicing your guitar for half an hour every day, it's just symbolic, really. Now, of course, reading every day, you're going to get more information. Practicing guitar every day, you're going to get way better at guitar. Running every day, you're going to get better at running every day. But that's the indirect byproduct. That's the cherry on top. Right? The respect for yourself that you build, that is the real value. So when you keep a promise for real, right? When you visit this idea of a non-negotiable, you figure out really freaking quick what you're capable of. Right? Because if the promise is negotiable and you have something really overwhelming happen, we'll just use a really bad sickness, for example. If it's negotiable, you're going to convince yourself that, oh, I'm incredibly sick, I can't go for the run, or I can't do my reading or practice my guitar. Right? And the way that you talk to yourself obviously makes a difference, right? It obviously results in something. So telling yourself over and over again, oh, I can't do this, you're absolutely going to start to believe that. And it's not true. When something is non-negotiable, when you cannot negotiate and you're super, super sick, when you say, well, I've made a decision. I'm going to do my reading. I'm going to practice my guitar. I'm going to go for my run. And again, it's not going to look pretty, but you're going to get it done. You're going to be very familiar with the truth of what you're capable of instead of spending your life lying to yourself saying, oh, I can't do this. Because very often, I would say most people conflate I can't and I don't want to. And that's ridiculous. Or if you don't want to, just say you don't want to. And if you can't, then you can't. But if you can, do not say you can't, because that would make you a liar. We don't want liars. So the non-negotiable, really what the non-negotiable is, the power in not negotiating with what you said you're going to do, is you ask this question: what the hell else am I going to do? What is my option to do it? There's great freedom in that, even though for some people it might seem like this trap. Oh, I have to do it. Well, you're meeting your expectations, right? You're fulfilling your responsibilities, but you're not spending every single day deciding, oh, am I bullshitting myself? Am I not doing enough? You have the peace of mind when you don't negotiate on following through on what you said you would do. That is the real benefit here, because life is always going to be difficult. Do you want your lifestyle and your responsibilities to sometimes be a pain in the ass, which I think is more historically and ancestrally accurate? Or do you want your life to be stupid easy, but you're sitting there in just this emotional distress and wondering and this existential pain all the time? I think you should just have some lifestyle elements be a pain in the ass. And then internally you can know, oh, I'm doing my thing. I'm showing up. I'm being the best version of myself. So that is kind of the mindset side of things and the reasoning to work on building these characteristics. right? To implement something so simple as I do blank every single day. And then you realize that liking yourself, self-worth is wildly within reach. That is a beautiful thing, because all too many people go through life thinking that things like confidence are just ingrained in somebody. Oh, that person's so confident. I wish that could be me. And they just go on forever thinking that couldn't be them. Meanwhile, confidence is evidence-based, and all they have to do is build the evidence. So that said, I have so many things I could talk about and reflect on with the 7 years, but to be honest, it's just so difficult to get everything together. It's so difficult to make sure, and I'm going through in my mind right now, oh, is there any big thing that I forgot to talk about? Yeah, I probably forgot to talk about some stories or some things that happened, but it's not about that. Right? It's not about the 7 years, oh, I made it, because every single day is just day one, and it genuinely feels like that. That's why I like the idea of the daily showing up, because, yeah, I've done it for 7 years. Guess what? I have the same responsibility tomorrow as somebody that's doing day one tomorrow. That's why it's exactly the same. Because you can't skip a day. You don't get to coast. You're not grandfathered into the run streak. You're never grandfathered into any responsibility. It's a responsibility because you have to do something, right? You have to uphold that. You have to actively show up. And that is why I think it is so powerful. So with that said, run every day, right? That's where you're going to become inspired. Read every day. Practice your guitar every day. Insert whatever the heck activity you want it to be, but show up to it like your freaking life depends on it, because it actually might. Because today, our form of survival is the emotional survival, right? It's finding our purpose, and that's one of the hardest things to do. But when you can find purpose through practicing something that you like or you want to overcome with immense consistency, that is so valuable. That is a, not free, but it's a very accessible path to feeling better about yourself, loving yourself, enjoying your life, feeling fulfilled, and then, of course, transferring that to the people around you through knowing how to communicate it. All right, so much built into this. 7 years behind me. Tomorrow I'm going to do the same thing. My own celebration of doing this all these years, there's not much of one, because it's just so ingrained into my lifestyle. I'm not going, yo, we made it, because I didn't make it. I just made it one more day, which has been the same one day as every single one leading up to it. All right, so 7 years only happens when one day happens 2,557 times. The big outcome or the big benchmark or the big goal honestly doesn't mean shit. Showing up the next day means a lot. And I don't know. I think a lot of folks are very attached to kind of the I made it, or the celebration, or graduating high school, or graduating college, birthday, all of these big special days that kind of stand out. But for me, that always feels weird. I mean, birthdays for me feel weird because I go, I don't know how I feel about celebrating this, because then there's going to be tomorrow, and is tomorrow going to be some letdown because it's not my birthday or Christmas? And so kind of deflating this excitement of kind of these arbitrary celebrations actually brings more fulfillment into the daily, which I love. So with that said, a couple things to end off this episode. I'm looking over here. I have a thing written down, ending notes, because I always forget something. All right, so if you're watching this on YouTube, definitely click the subscribe button so you don't miss a podcast. Leave a like, comment what you thought. I love to hear from you guys. Whenever I see the comments saying, man, I love this podcast, I learned something, or you should talk about this, I'm so grateful for it. I can't believe that this is a part of what I do for a living, just talking about my ideas. Spotify, leave a 5-star. That's a thing now, right? So give the podcast 5 stars. You can also leave a comment. Want to hear what you think. And my newsletter. So this is something I don't talk about a ton, but I've recently spent some time beefing up the old newsletter that I've been doing it for, I think, a year at least, just sending out a lot of my videos that I've made, the running videos, a lot of the writing that I do. I send that out in email form. It's a great way to save that so you don't have to go back and watch a video, send it to people, write down quotes and things like that as good reminders. So the newsletter, I'm stoked about. The link will be somewhere in the description of the video. Say newsletter link, you can click to sign it up. I think I have 2 emails that go out every week, so I'm not going to be bombarding the old inbox, but definitely subscribe to that newsletter. And last but not least, last but maybe most, the reminder you've all been waiting for: no phone dinner. So if you're listening to this podcast, if you're watching this podcast, if you hear my voice when you eat dinner tonight, maybe you're eating dinner right now, and so this is going to have to apply tomorrow. No phone dinner. Sit there, maybe with your family, maybe with your friends, maybe with yourself, which is not a bad thing at all. Eat your dinner, appreciate your meal, spend time in the present moment without needing to be distracted. Put the phone away for dinner. And that's all I've got for you. With that said, thank you so much for listening. I love you guys. I'm going to catch you on the next episode, and I hope you have an awesome day. See ya.